Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all having an amazing day. The World Cup is about a week away from starting and I am very excited about it and I hope you're all excited as well. So today I wanted to talk about some possible lineups for some of the tournament favorite teams, and also at the end we are gonna take a look at the Fantasy World Cup game. Now, I won't spend as much time uh, in this game as in FPL, so I'm gonna play it a little bit more relaxed. I'm gonna try my best to pick players that I like from teams that I like and try to enjoy the World Cup in general. But first, before that, I wanted to talk about the best starting 11 for some of the teams. Now, I wasn't sure how I would do this at the beginning because I don't really have some fancy graphics and things like that. So, first I thought I would have to just basically just use audio and just talk, but then I realized that I can use this fantasy game from FIFA and all the players are listed here, so I can use this and talk about the lineups. So I already made my World Cup prediction video. If you haven't checked that one out, it's in the channel already. So yeah, let's start with today's video. So the first team I want to talk about is one of the tournament's favorites, and that team is Brazil. So looking at the Brazil team, they have a crazy amount of amazing attacking players, but weirdly enough I noticed that defensively they are actually not, they don't really have as many good players as I first expected. So let's start with the goalkeeper position. So obviously they have two amazing goalkeepers, Alisson and Ederson, and both of them, I think both of them are close to each other. Both of them could easily be the first goalkeeper. I know Alisson gets the green light in front of Ederson. He has been the first choice goalkeeper for Brazil for a very long time. I think Alisson is a little bit better at shot stopping, whether Ederson on the other side is a better ball playing player. So Ederson is probably better at passing the ball around, ball control, long passes and things like that. But I think Alisson should be their number one keeper. I think the shot stopping quality is more important, and I'm gonna go with Alisson as the Brazil's starting goalkeeper. Now the formation I think they should play is basically 4-3-3, or you can say 4-2-1-3, as pretty much any way you want. I don't really like these formations with 5 players at the back, but yeah, I don't think Brazil is gonna go for that. So goalkeeper would be Alisson for me. Moving into the defense, central defenders, they have Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, Eder Militao, Bremer, who is actually some new player that plays for Juventus, and I have to be honest, I'm not quite familiar with him. I recently heard about him, but I would go for two central defenders. Uh, Marquinhos has to be one of those two, in my opinion, and the other one would be either Thiago Silva or Eder Militao. Now, Thiago Silva is their obvious choice. I believe, I'm not sure, I believe he's their captain actually, based on age, but he's coming to the point of his career when he would have to you would have to say, is he can he run around and defend against the younger players? So he's 38, I believe, at this point, and I would consider actually going for either Militao instead of him for the harder games, just because he is younger and he's playing for Real Madrid, so if he's good enough for Madrid, he has to be good enough for Brazil's first team. But actually looking at it, uh, when we look at the fullbacks, Brazil actually doesn't really have good fullbacks in their team, at least in my opinion. So if we look here, they have Danilo from Juventus. On the other side, they have Alex Sandro, and then they have Alex Telles, who is a Man United player, but he plays on loan, I believe, at Sevilla. And then they have this Ibanez player, so they are very very weak at the fullback position. And I'm really not a fan of this Danilo and Alexandro, who both play for Juventus. I don't really rate them highly. So Brazil actually, and I just remembered, I believe Dani Alves is also going to the World Cup, even though he's not listed here in this game, at least not yet. But he's 39 actually, so he's definitely not starting. So looking at this, I would say that either Militao, instead of being in the central defender position, he can actually play it on the right as a right fullback instead of Danilo, who I don't really rate. So actually, Brazil's best back four, in my opinion, is either Militao on the right, then Thiago Silva and Marquinhos as the central defenders, and then I suppose Alex Sandro as a left fullback. Now let's move into the midfield, and here the choice is actually a lot easier for me. So I would go with two defensive midfielders, so one number 6 and one number 8 basically, and those two would be Casemiro as the number 6, obviously, one of the best in his position in the world. Even though he's in his 30s right now, he's still one of the best in my opinion. And then I would play Bruno Guimaraes with him actually. I think Bruno is a very underrated player. He plays for Newcastle, and I know he's not going to most likely be the player that the Brazil's coach is going to start. That's most likely going to be Lucas Paqueta, or maybe even Fred, but I do think Bruno is an amazing number 8, one of the best actually in the world, and I think he will keep growing and becoming better. I would definitely like to see him starting games together with Casemiro, and then in front of them in the midfield I would go with one of the best players in the world, and that's Neymar. So he would basically play behind the striker, something like a number 10, creating for the striker and also scoring a lot of goals himself. I think he's going to be one of the best players in this tournament. I actually predicted him to be possibly the top goal scorer, but we will see. So that's the midfield three: Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro and Neymar, and then the front three. On the left it's Vinicius Junior. That's a pretty easy choice. Now up front Roberto Firmino is not actually picked in the squad, and Gabriel Jesus, he isn't listed here, so Gabriel Jesus from Arsenal is, I would say, a good player, a player that I think should start for Brazil. Reason being, yes, I know he hasn't really scored that many goals this season, but as a number 9, but I like his link-up play. I think he plays for the team. He creates space for his teammates, so I don't think Brazil need a real goal scorer up front as a number 9, and I think they have a lot of other options for goal scorers around the team. So I would go for Gabriel Jesus as a number 9, but I'm pretty sure the coach is going to go with Richarlison. He seems to fit Brazil better, but I would still try Gabriel Jesus. And then on the right side, I would actually go for Rafinha, even though he hasn't had an amazing season at Barcelona. He always looks good for Brazil, and I think he can score a lot of goals as well, with Antony from Man United being the second choice. So my Brazil's best 11 would be once again Alisson, Militao, Silva, Marquinhos, Alexandro, Casemiro, Bruno Guimaraes, Neymar, Rafinha, Jesus and Vinicius. Now let's go to another team that I want to talk about, and that's going to be England. So England, once again, I think their best players are their attackers, and I want to see them playing an attacking football, but their coach Gareth Southgate tends to play very defensively, and that's the reason why I don't like him. I think he's stopping England from being the best team in the world actually. And so once again I would go for a 4-3-3 formation for England, but I'm quite sure that he's going to go with 5 defenders and play his defensive, try not to concede a goal type of football. So at the goal for England, the 3 possible players are Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope, and then Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal, who's not yet listed here. Now this is a hard choice. I'm not quite sure which one of these 3 is their starting goalkeeper. They tend to rotate around. I would say if it was my personal choice, I would most likely go for Nick Pope actually. Yeah, that's a hard one. Maybe Pickford is close to him, and Ramsdale, I don't think he's had the best of the season, if I'm quite honest. I would go for Nick Pope. I think he's an amazing shot stopper and very underrated, and I like the fact that he's so. I'm sorry. I like the fact that he's so tall that he can easily stop all the high balls, and he's very quick and agile as well. So I think he should be the starting goalkeeper, with Pickford being the close second. Now if we look at England's defenders, once again I would go for 4 defenders. So in the 2 central defenders positions I would go for John Stones as one, and then let me see if I can find some other players here. So I wouldn't go for Harry Maguire, even though he's 100% going to start every game for England. He's obviously had an awful season, and he should probably not even be in the squad. but he's going to be starting every single game. So the two players I would actually go for is John Stones and then possibly Eric Dyer as the two starting central defenders. Now Tomori is also a great shout from AC Milan, but I saw the final squad, England squad, and I don't think Tomori is even going to the World Cup. He hasn't been chosen. Ben White is another good example for a solid central defender, but this season he has been playing pretty much exclusively on the left fullback position, or I'm sorry, on the right fullback position. So that's why I wouldn't go for him. But he's another amazing player. So the two starting central defenders should be John Stones and Eric Dyer, in my opinion. Now on the right, the choice is actually quite simple. On the right, it should be Kieran Trippier starting. So he's had an absolutely amazing season. He's been Newcastle's best player, in my opinion, and he looks great in every game I watch him. He should definitely be starting for England, and Ben White would be the second choice in case he gets injured or something like that. From the left, actually there is only one choice, and that is Luke Shaw. The reason for that is the other players are injured. So Ben Chilwell, he is injured and he's most likely going to miss the whole World Cup, and that just leaves Luke Shaw as England's best starting left fullback. Now the midfield two for England is quite obvious, so the midfield two would be Declan Rice, and then here he is, Jude Bellingham. So they work together quite nicely. They're two young, exciting players, and they are going to start most likely. Now, for the creative attacking midfield position, he's going to most likely go for Mason Mount there, but if I was choosing a player for there, I would go for, he's not listed here, I would start James Maddison in the number 10 position. So I think Maddison is a very underrated player, and I think he should be starting for England instead of Mason Mount. So once again, he has had an amazing season for Leicester. Every game I watch him, he gets into some amazing positions. He scores from free kicks. He has dangerous corner kicks. He looks amazing on the field. He plays some amazing balls, and I think he would be amazing for England. But I don't think the coach is going to start him, but I would. And then the front three would actually be Phil Foden on the left, Bukayo Saka on the right, and then obviously Harry Kane in front of them as the forward. So that's the England team I would go for. Once again, Nick Pope in goal, Trippier, Stones, Dyer and Luke Shaw, Bellingham and Rice midfield 2, and then Maddison in front of them, and front 3 of Saka, Foden and Kane. But as we all know, Gareth Southgate is going to go for a back 5 and ruin all of that. Now the next team I want to talk about is Portugal. So with Portugal, their best goalkeeper is Diogo Costa, an amazing keeper that plays for Porto. He's an amazing shot stopper and penalty stopper, so I think he's going to be possibly the best goalkeeper choice in this World Cup. Other than that, the defenders for Portugal, so João Cancelo would play on the right fullback position. Then the two central defenders should be Ruben Dias and he's not listed here, Danilo Pereira. And then on the left it would be Nuno Mendes for me. Diogo Dalot actually from Man United has had an amazing season as well, and he should definitely be considered to start some games, but with Cancelo's best position being on the right in my opinion, even though he can play on the left, I would still start Cancelo and Nuno Mendes as the two fullbacks. Now in the midfield for Portugal it would be Ruben Neves for me as the more defensive midfielder, together with Palhinha, who is not listed here, and then the creative player for Portugal would be Bruno Fernandes as the more attacking midfielder, and then the front three. On the right I would play Bernardo Silva, once again an amazing player, and then up front it would be Cristiano Ronaldo. Diogo Jota is going to be injured and is going to miss this World Cup, so Andre Silva is the backup option for Cristiano Ronaldo, but I would start him. And then on the left I would actually go for Rafael Leao. He's not listed here. Rafael Leao from AC Milan. Now, fair enough, I don't think he's done much in the nationals team shirt so far, but I think it's time for him to show his quality. He seems to be a good player for Milan, and I think with Diogo Jota being injured and all of that, I think he's gonna have to step up and perform if Portugal want to have a good World Cup. So Portugal's starting 11, once again, Diogo Costa, Cancelo, Danilo Pereira, Dias, Mendes, and then Palhinha and Neves in the midfield with Bruno Fernandes there as well, and then a front three of Bernardo Silva, Ronaldo and Rafael Leao. Now, the last team I wanted to talk about for today is France. So when I looked at the France team, it's actually quite surprising for me. So they have a lot of defensive options, a lot of striker options, but actually they are very weak in the midfield. I did notice that, so let's start with the goalkeeper. So I would go for Hugo Lloris. I think he's their captain. He's been their first choice goalkeeper for a very long time, and I know this Mandanda, I believe that's his name. He's the goalkeeper from AC Milan, I believe. I know he's been starting games recently, but I saw that he has been injured, and I would give the slight edge to Lloris as France's best goalkeeper at the moment, so I would start him. And then in the defense, possibly the two best central defenders for Brazil would be obviously Rafael Varane, but I don't think he's fit enough to start at the very beginning of the World Cup. Maybe in the later stages he will be. So I would actually go for Upamecano as a central defender, and then surprisingly I would go for William Saliba from Arsenal. Now they are not listed here, so I'm not sure if they are in the squad for the France's World Cup, but those are the two that I would most likely start, and then Rafael Varane, if he is fit, he would go in the team instead of Saliba. Now on the right it would be Benjamin Pavard as the fullback, and on the left it would be Theo Hernandez. So those are the four defenders I would go for. Now if we move into the midfield, so Chouamini would be one of the two midfielders, and actually surprisingly I would actually go for Adrien Rabiot as the other midfielder and not Cavaninga. Reason being, Chouamini and Cavaninga are two exciting young players, and definitely two players for the future, but they are quite young, and I'm not sure a midfield two of those two would actually work for France. And looking at Madrid, they don't actually start most of the games, so I wouldn't go for a midfield two of them. I would actually go for Chouamini and Rabiot, who's had a good season for Brazil, or for Juventus, sorry, and he plays good for France. And in front of them I would go for Antoine Griezmann as the creative midfield player. I know that's not his natural position, but I think he's an amazing player for France, and I think he definitely should be given a chance. Now the front three would actually be Karim Benzema, Kylian Mbappe obviously, and then I would actually play Christopher Nkunku there as well, because I really rate this player, and looking at his season in the Bundesliga, he's had an amazing season. He scores pretty much every game, and I would definitely look away to get him into the starting 11. But actually this might be a little too attacking, and this might actually prove to be not that good for France now that I think about it. So actually I suppose this is where you all come to help me. So I would ask you once again, let me just repeat the team. So Lloris in goal, Pavard, Saliba, Upamecano and Theo Hernandez, then Chouamini and Rabiot together with Griezmann in the midfield, and then Nkunku, Mbappe and Benzema. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about this team, and do you think it could work, or Nkunku should be on the bench and Griezmann up front and then another player in the midfield? So please let me know down below. Now let's take a look at this Fantasy World Cup game. So basically the rules for this game are not like the Fantasy Premier League, but actually like the Champions League fantasy game, if you have ever played that game. So let's just quickly go through some options. So for the goalkeeper position, I would go for Portugal's keeper, Diogo Costa. Now in the defense, once again I'm going for teams that I think are going to dominate this tournament and go far. So England has an amazing, great defense, and they do play defensively, so I would go for Kieran Trippier. Then I would get a Brazilian defender as well, so Marquinhos as the certain starter would be the choice for me. Then we can look at some Denmark defenders, and this Maele guy is quite cheap and he could possibly work as well. And also we can add a Argentinian defender as well, so Tagliafico from Ajax, I believe. I would choose him as well. Now, if we move into the midfield, I would get a Portuguese midfielder, maybe Bernardo Silva, who is going to play on the wing. And then I would choose someone like Eriksen. And then if we go to Belgium, obviously Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best players in the world, would be in here. And then I would actually like to add Leandro Trossard as well, hoping that he will start because he does look amazing for Brighton, and I think he's a great option and he should start from the left for them. And then if we go at the strikers, I would go for Neymar here, and another possibly great option could be Cody Gakpo from the Netherlands. He's cheap and one of the most exciting young players in the world right now. So this is a solid starting team, and let's just fill the bench as well. So I would go for Nick Pope just in case he does end up starting these games on the bench. And then let me just see how much money I have left. So I would go for a France defender as well, so maybe Pavard. And then let's try an Argentinian striker. Lautaro Martinez, one of the hottest strikers at the moment in Europe. And then we have 6.5 left for one more player, and that player can be anyone really. So who knows, maybe this Damsgaard player from Denmark or even some other player, I'm not quite sure. Let's add him for now. So this is one possible team for the Fantasy World Cup game. Now obviously I hadn't really put that much thought into this, but this is provisional just as an example, and I will keep an eye on, I will think about this, and I will possibly do another video about the fantasy team, so a separate video only about that in the future. I will see, but yes, that's all for today. My voice actually, I'm having trouble speaking at the moment, so that's all for today's video. Hope you'll find it somewhat interesting, and I hope you're all excited about the World Cup as I am. So thank you for watching, and yes, I will see you at the next video. Goodbye.